So of course
Okay.
you met in England, right?
Oh yes,
Okay.
yes.
What brought you to Canada?
He
Alan,
wanted the money and the jobs.
economics job. He had a job to come
Did
to.
Alan play a part in that?
I-
Have you kind of?
I suppose he did.
Okay,
Yes,
we'll talk
yeah.
about that.
He certainly
because-
did, because he came over.
Oh, we're
In
gonna-
1961,
okay, we can talk. Yeah.
when
So do you want to start over? Say we in 1961 because I was talking on top of it.
oh, no problem. I think it was 1961, Alan came to Britain for a holiday, and he brought Muffet with him, and Mari, of course. And we had been thinking about the possibility of coming to Canada, so we used that opportunity to get some information, advice, whatever. And when he came back, we asked, would he please send us some newspapers so we could get an idea of what life was like and the price of things and so on, which he did. But basically, it was nice to have relatives here, but we were escaping something far worse. So,
Which was living in a furnished room somewhere. And
with shared toilets and God knows
Yes.
what else, and a dragon for a landlady.
so we were married on the 31st of January, came to Canada on the 1st of February, and he started work because he had a job on the
Yeah.
5th of February. So, and we've been here, married, been in Canada 53 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Alan had a part to play. I think the fact that he was in Canada and we had someone to come to. We stayed with Mary and Al, for 5 weeks?
About that.
Yeah. And lived in Thorncliffe Park, same place as they did. They lived in one building, we lived opposite, didn't we? We lived there for 2 years. And Al came home one day from work, didn't he? He said, you know what? He said, we're bloody fools paying rent. He said, we should buy our own place. Well, none of us had any money, did we? So he said he knew where there was some houses being built, subdivisions. And so just after New Year's, we put Mari and Grant and myself, and I was just pregnant at the time, and Ed and Al, and we went off.
Muffet.
And Muffet, yeah, that's right. And we went off looking at houses, and we spent Sunday going around subdivisions, and finally up at Jane and
Janet Finch.
Finch. He said, I know one more place. And he went into the sales office with you, didn't he? And Alan apparently said to him, what's your cheapest? And the guy showed him in the book. What did he do?
In those days, when you went into the sales office, you got a big sheaf of paper with all the plans of all the houses they were building. So, and our problem to that point had been we'd gone into these houses, and of course they liked the expensive ones that we couldn't afford. So finally Alan said, nobody's getting out of the car, come on Ed. We went into the sales office and he said, what's the cheapest house you've got? And they showed him which plan it was. He tore that out and gave them the rest back. And came out and said to the women in the back of the car, this is the one you're allowed to look at.
And at that point we saw semis, two side-by-side semis. We liked them, didn't we? And that was the two that we bought, and we lived side by side, what, 3 years, and looked after each other's kids and quite enjoyed it there, then decided it was time to move on. We moved to Weston, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And they moved up to Rexdale.
Northern Etobicoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about your relationship. Describe Alan as your big brother. Can you?
There's 5 years between Alan and I. When I was 9, Alan would have been 14, and he left school and went to work. So that although it's only 5 years, it's a big gap. I was still a little girl, and I was a little girl because I was very tiny. And my big brother, was going off to work, doing an apprenticeship. So our lives didn't, apart from we lived in the same house, I mean, he was just my big brother. Occasionally Alan would come home with a stray dog or something, because he was always coming across the stray dogs. And then when he was 18, he was called up into the army. I think he went into the army, do his national service. I was 13, and I was in grammar school. What is that, high school here? And so my life was quite different from his. I didn't have time to go out in the evenings. There was a local youth club. I think it was the YWCA, but it was open to boys and girls. So the 4 older members, 2 older brothers, Alan being one of them, my 2 older sisters, they went to the club, as it was always called, plus half the kids of their age in the street. So there's quite a few of them. I went occasionally, but I was not a real member. And they did all kinds of things together. So for those years, although I was in the house with them, I was not part of the group. They did things together. And then, as I say, he did his national service, had various girlfriends, and then Mari, who lived opposite us, and I think I've known her since I was about 5 or 6 years old. They became a couple, got married, and I think lived in a flat near my aunt. And then eventually, after I think about a year and a half, 2 years, they came to Canada. And so didn't see them for 9 years, because when did they come over? 56?
56, yeah.
And we came over in 62. So it was eight years basically. And then 6 years. I'm not very good at math. You can cut that bit out. But anyways, and then we sort of got, because we lived with them, and we lived near them, and we've lived near them for a long time, didn't we?
Yeah.
So our lives then became sort of more together. We did Christmases together and birthdays and things. We then, how long did we live in Weston? So we lived in Talon Road for 13 years,
yeah.
and moved to where we are now on Bloor Street. And I don't know how long he's been in his townhouse, 12, 13, 14 years, something like that. So we're too far apart to be just dropping in and out. But then Alan never let us be, did he? We had to join, we had to join the
Bowling club.
The bowling club. We had to join the lawn bowling club in Rexdale, didn't we?
Yeah.
When we retired, they were retired. You got to join the lawn bowling. Then it was join the 5-pin bowling. Then they moved up to Streetsville, and so we came up to Streetsville, didn't we? And then you better join the seniors, so we joined the seniors, and that's how we've become involved with him all these years. Alan has a great way of getting people involved. I used to tremble after a little while, because if you saw, oh, just the person I want to see. I thought, now what? So, well, we need a secretary at the club. Will you do it? And then would you mind being the treasurer? He was president by then. And then there was somewhere else. He'd say, oh, do me a favour, Jill. What now? Well, would you write me a letter? I'd write him a letter. And then another occasion. I want you to do something for me. What? Well, I want you to come. Will you come with me and take some notes? I ended up being secretary. So I don't know how many secretarial jobs I got from him. But I was secretary for the seniors, I'm secretary for the 5-pin bowling, other things. I was even for the Mississauga Senior Council for a little while, but that's something else he got me in. But yeah, he's a great one for saying, just want a favour.
So in a way, you've been Alan's personal assistant.
Oh, definitely, yes. He thinks so anyway. Yeah.
Can you say for me, yes, I have been Alan's personal assistant?
Yes, I have been Alan's personal assistant.
Can you give me some words to describe Alan?
Oh.
words, what characteristic, what words come to your mind?
Uncle Al, the kiddies' pal.
Uncle Al, the kiddies' pal, is what we used to call him. Alan's
I'm sorry, I'm going to stop you there. What was it that you said, and I'll get you to repeat that?
Uncle Al, the kiddies' pal. He loves
Okay,
kids.
I'll get you to. So I'm going to ask you again and just say that because I just want to make sure it's clear on the tape. So how would you describe? What words would you describe him?
Uncle Al, the kiddies' pal, among other things. Alan loves people. He loves people. He's happiest when he's with a group, and he loves to be in charge. Everything he does, every job he's ever had, president or whatever, he's given 110%. He is very enthusiastic about what he does. And if you were to ask him about lawn bowling, he thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So he just likes to be friendly. He likes to be loved, and he loves to love. I mean, there's never a strange girl that he's met in a group that he hasn't given a kiss when he said goodbye. So, yeah.
But to get back to the starting theme, if ever this party is with a lot of kids in
Yeah,
attendance,
you'll find out.
that's where you'll find him. He ditched the adults so fast it's not even funny.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we went to a wedding in England. Can't remember whose it was now. So many. Went to a wedding. Alan disappeared in a crowd of kids, and that's where he stayed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He didn't mix with the adults very much. So
Do you feel privileged to? Because you said your relationship with Alan, he was the big brother. But do you feel privileged that you were able down the road when you came to Canada to reconnect with him? Did you find that you learned so much about him?
Oh, I think he was an anchor for us here for a while, and he was always there. Well, I mean, Ed would say, "Let's go out for the day," and he'd phone Mary and Alan and say, "Want to go somewhere for the day?" And quite often we went out for the day with them. Yeah, he's been a very big part of our life since we've been here. Yeah, I don't know what it would have been like if he hadn't been in Canada when we came, but we've always been lived near to him, or near enough, and we've never had a party or any event that we haven't been there, whether it was him coming to us or. So yes, he's been a big part of our lives.
When you heard,
Sorry, let's
okay,
just hold for a minute because
Yeah.
I got to switch out a camera card here.
okay, you're a great talker. This is.
Oh, please don't say that.
But you're very well at speaking.
Wind
Both of
her
you,
up and watch her
very
go.
Well, I can tell my dad that so that he can have another job for you.
I had no idea. Like, he did mention, I'm writing a book about Alan and Marie,
Yeah.
and he did mention that he was always getting family involved. But he also told the story about you guys going out and finding the house. So I've heard that before, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I was sitting beside the couple.
Yeah. No. He. Well, I didn't.
But the thing,
Don't say, if you're going to say something, yeah. Keep that thought. I'm going to ask you what you're just thinking, because sometimes when you're talking and the camera's not on, you get your best clips.
Camera's back on.
the thing about that house hunting was that at the time, whoops, there we go.
We'll just wait till the rings. Okay.
The thing about this house hunting was that at the time, Jill and I had never set foot in a Canadian house. And I don't think Alan had either. I mean, we'd always lived in apartments. So we knew nothing. We didn't know what to look for. We didn't know what to exclaim over. I mean, it was a house and it was a new experience. But we were so ignorant that we landed right on our feet by good luck and not by judgment. And in those days, I don't know whether they still do it, but when you buy a brand new house, the builder gives you a tour inspection before you close. And it wasn't a tour inspection for us, it was a learning process. We were saying, you know, where's the filter on the furnace and what do you do with it? And things like that. I mean, it was very odd, but it was a Cadillac Fairview house, so it was well built. It's obviously today it's not in the best place possible, but then the subdivision was full of English people. And we moved out after 3 years, and we were one of the last to move out.
Yeah. But it was interesting how we bought it, because we didn't have any money, and neither did Alan and Mary. We were, you know, so when you went to get the mortgage at the, what is it, CMHC?
Yeah.
Alan went first, and Muff had some money in the bank. How much was it, Ed? 300, 500?
I don't know how much it was.
But her money from her bank went into Alan's account.
As did ours.
As did ours. And he took his bank book and had the money. And when it was our turn, a week or so later, the money was back in ours, plus Muff's money, and we got our mortgage. He also had to take his assets. Did you know that they wanted to know? And he came out of his interview, and he said, when he came home, he said, "By God, I'm richer than I thought. Your mum had I don't know what you call it, Astrakhan coat, lamb's wool thing, and he had a video camera, and they valued that and the coat, and he came out quite rich, didn't he?"
Jill wasn't allowed to go to the interview because she was pregnant.
I wasn't
we
allowed to
thought
go.
that might interfere with
No.
things.
No. But by the time the interviews came around, I was about 5 months pregnant, and they wouldn't let me go. So, but no, it was an interest. Oh, and we moved into the house. We didn't have any money for furniture, so we went to Chambers Foods, Freezer Foods, and we joined Chambers Food Club. We needed a fridge, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we asked them if they got a used fridge, and they said yes. So we bought a freezer as well, a chest freezer. We'd got $50, hadn't we, to buy a used fridge with. That $50 was the down payment on the freezer and the fridge. So we got a freezer and a fridge. Mary and Al bought a freezer. We moved in on the 16th of April. It was a horrible day, snowing. We thought we could move in on the 15th, and we were all packed up. We got to the house and we couldn't move in, could we? It wasn't closed. So Alan had a worker who said, "Oh, you can come back to my place." So, great. His wife wasn't very happy, was she?
No.
And we parked the truck with one truck with our furniture and Al's furniture and Almar's furniture in it. And it was so packed tight, nothing moved much, did it, in there? It was really just as well, because the truck slipped its brakes and hung over a ravine. I don't think, all that was lost, broken, was a handle on a chest of drawers, I think.
Something
Muff's,
like that.
something like that. A lot of people gathered very quickly to see this thing. Anyway, Alan and you were going to sleep on the floor up at the shop, weren't they? His repair shop. But I think you did stay at Andrew's, did you? With Jimmy?
No,
Jim,
no, we stayed on the floor in the living room.
Yeah, in the living room in his worker's house. And Mari and Muff and myself and Grant, we stayed in a motel along the motel strip on the lakeshore, I think. We had no clothes, no change of clothes, and it looked as though we'd robbed something, because there was TVs in the back of the car and piles of clothes and things. And then we moved in the next day. It was a cold, miserable, snowy day, and in Mari and Al's house was 2 freezers parked in the kitchen. And that was, 2 days before they got it out, got them moved.
We were using cloth diapers in those days.
Yes.
And of course we
Cloth diapers.
We had no provision for this extra night. So what are they going to do about Grant, you see? So he ended up, instead of diapers, he had
one diaper
and sanitary napkins on. So whenever he gets a bit pompous, we remind him of this.
You didn't know that. Secret will come out eventually. Yeah, no, but that was our moving into the first house, and They dodged around the freezers for a couple of days until they got them moved. But they were nice houses. But the area we knew, they didn't have anything really up there, did it? So
It's interesting because Alan said to me, I said, what's the one thing you would want to tell a lot of people? And in the book, I've written it in, where he said, some people will tell you, no, it can't be done. Don't listen to them, because there is always a way. Never say no, say, yes, it can be done. Never give up. Does that, when I tell you that, are you surprised to hear that?
no, that's Alan. He tries. He's always wanting to do something. We don't take a lot of notice, I mean, of people really. They do things and you don't realise sometimes how or why they've done it, but he sets his mind to things. I think he will do it.
And he pulls people along with him.
Yeah, he's got a way about him somehow. You find you're doing something and you think, how did I get here? You know, why am I doing this? Then you realise because he conned you somewhere or another. And you still do it anyway. So,
But for a good cause?
oh yeah.
It doesn't matter at that point. I mean,
No.
if you've gone along with it, you're going along with it. Hopefully, it's for a good cause, but that's not a consideration. You know.
I suppose as we grew up, I mean, it's very hard when you've got a lot of siblings to remember what was. I mean, we fought as kids. I'm sure we did. I know we did. I used to fight my younger brother. But I can remember you could run out of the front door, run down the front path, along past the hedge, down the side way, through the back garden and into the kitchen, and that's chasing somebody with, I don't know what, but, you know, we fought. We were a big family. We fought. We lived in a very small space, and that's what you did. But, my two, Alan and Keith, the two oldest, shared a bedroom for, many, many years. Keith was always the tidy one, and Alan was the scruffy one. Keith would come, they worked together, they were both apprentices in sheet metal workers, panel beaters they're called, and they'd come home on the bus together. Apparently they never spoke on the bus, but Keith had always washed his face and hands before he came home, Alan hadn't. They thought they'd did he ever tell you the story about the tandem, the bicycle? They thought I don't know where they got it from, whether they got it cheap somewhere, but they got a tandem bicycle that they fixed up.
Okay, can you just stop and just say the same thing, but say Alan and Keith.
Oh, sorry.
And his older brother Keith, yeah.
Yeah. Alan and his older brother Keith got a tandem bicycle that they fixed up. I don't know, they painted it and repaired it and whatever, to ride to work. Well, I think that worked for, I don't know how long, a few weeks perhaps, but something went wrong on the way home one night. So they threw it over a bridge into the river, and that was the end of that. My sister Hazel, she was the oldest girl, she worked the same place in the office, and they all rode on the bus, but they never sat together, any of them. I don't know why, I only hear this, you know, later on. They didn't tell me much, but yeah, that's what families do. But Alan would go out in the garden, do something. He'd come in with a dirty face. Keith wouldn't. They'd both be doing the same thing. You know, I don't know whether he's still like that, but he managed to wear whatever he was doing. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to remember to isolate when there's so many of you and there's so many little things that come back at odd times. And I'm not the one with the best memory. So unfortunately, the one with the better memory, or did have, was Muff. And she would be able to probably tell you, because she's lived with Alan since she was 18. She came to Canada when she was about 18. And so she would, but unfortunately, she has no memory at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, so describe the Christmas parties.
We were in two halves of a semi, and we reserved one house for the Christmas dinner, and the other house for the kids and the toys and the other kind of mess. Well, by that time, Muffet had started dating Doug, who brought his contribution to the Christmas party, which was 3 children. So we had all these kids. We had a couple of hangers-on and our own families. And, we put up a long table in the one room that we had available. And it was sort of a table and then a dismounted door and then something else at the other end. we had chairs with 1x2 strung between them so we could get seated. But we
did.
we had over 20 people in that house at one occasion, and they were good. They were good fun. And then, as I say, when you wanted the kids out of the way so you could clean up, the kids all went into the other unit and played. But that was they were good times to recall, and it wasn't just family. It was, as I say, there was some hangers-on as well.
But we had good times when we were in the apartment when we first went to Canada. We used to have some. There were some good friends over in Thorncliffe Park, and we had some wonderful Christmases because at that point we didn't have any kids, and I think when Grant was born.
Well, Grant was born over New Year.
He was born at the end of December.
And we had a party at one of our friends, which we all went to, Alan included. And they were taking movies at this party, and we were doing the conga in this apartment and everything. And we were all sort of 9 parts to the wind. And then when Mari saw the pictures afterwards, boy, was she ticked off.
She's in hospital.
She'd been in hospital and missed it all.
Yeah, we had some good times there. And Arthur with the Asti Spumante up the wall and things like that. But yeah, we had a good time and good friends.
The cheapest bubbly you could buy in those days was Asti Spumante. It's amongst the more expensive ones now.
Yes.
And we had a 1-bedroom apartment, and we were having some kind of a meal in it around Christmas time. And Arthur was deputed to open the Asti Spumante, so he stood at one end and pointed this thing down the narrow hall to our toilet and washroom. Unwired the cork and bang, it came off and it splattered the wall, and this stuff ate right through the paint. We couldn't believe it the next day. We got up and looked at these spots and the paint's gone.
Wonder what it does to your body. Oh, that's great. Thank you guys. That was wonderful.